Felt like more than a 16-point loss, I can tell you that's for sure. I thought we started the game off. The tough part is, you like to believe that the team that's had a week off is the team that's going to be more prepared, and in some ways, I think we were. But sometimes it's easier to just play, and kind of get in that rhythm of practice than play. I don't know if this is working very well. I thought early in the game, we got great shots. I thought we were moving the ball. I thought we were getting in transition. We were getting stops. I thought Renee had a number of open looks. Breland had wide open looks. I thought she was going to start draining threes. And she spent a lot of time and taking a lot of extra shots from three. And they rattled in and out. So I thought that it hurt us when Hayes and Breland got in foul trouble because, when this team doesn't make shots, we know how to grind. But when you take your two all-league defenders out of the game, you don't grind as well. And I thought we stopped moving the ball as well. The ball stuck. And so as the game went along, we really challenged them at halftime. I think they challenged themselves. I thought they came out with a lot of energy in the third quarter. I thought we made a nice run to start the third quarter, forced a timeout. But they made a couple tough shots, and at that point, I felt like with a back-to-back, I had to sub, and really live for another day. In this league, you can't put too much on one game, even though you want to. And so we were going to play them as long as I thought we had a true chance to win the game. And after that, rest them, knowing that we've got a quick turnaround. We have a flight out tomorrow morning and play tomorrow night. So happy to answer any questions.
Defensively, Natasha was going off, Natasha Howard. Was it more of what you weren't doing as a team, or just they were too quick and too big?
She was 6 for 15. I thought we got her to take and miss a lot of shots. I think she got to the foul line. I think she drove. She got some offensive rebounds and was able to get the ball up on the rim. Some shots in transition. If you'd have told me she was going to go 6 for 15, I would have thought we'd have had a good chance to win the game. And Jewel Lloyd 4 for 11. So 10 for 26 from their kind of two all-star type players. I think it was Canada making some perimeter open shots that was big. Mercedes Russell played well when she came in and really buried us in the paint. We had some defensive breakdowns that we just don't usually have, and some of that was subbing and playing some different players, but I don't really like that excuse, quite frankly. These guys are all pros, and they're playing here for a reason. So yeah, Howard has great energy. You think about a couple of our cheapies that she got. One of them was where we got a defensive stop and outletted the ball, and Canada stepped in and stole it, and she ended up with a cheap one there, or that late offensive rebound. So I thought our first shot defense on her was actually quite good tonight.
Were you happy with the shot selection? I know you said it.
I thought early the shot selection was great. When Renee had 3 open threes that just were halfway down. Breland had good shots early. But I think when you're not making shots, like I think, Bentley probably shot too many threes tonight. She got going late, but I think she's someone that can really get going downhill and touch the paint. Everything we do, is predicated off touching the paint. So when we make a couple passes and jack a three, that's not ideal to me. I don't mind shooting 23 threes. I'd love to shoot 23 threes a game. But I like the threes where you saw us attack the baseline and kick it up opposite, where you get that inside-out pass, because we just shoot that at such much higher clips, all the way around.
How do you continue to build the defensive nature of the team?
Well, it just starts. It starts back with reps in practice. Until late, they were still shooting under 40%. They had some shots late, so I don't think once again that we put them to the line too much. I thought that we got frustrated with non-calls at our end, and then got a little chippy, I think, and picked up some cheap ones, especially in that second quarter. And we've got to understand that we can't do that. Because I don't think overall, I think we had more defensive breakdowns than we're used to. But, you know, sometimes you just, when you get down in a game, then you want to do something to help your team make a play. And so sometimes that means being over aggressive, and I saw some of that. You know, like a perfect example was Mo ran and doubled the low block, and they dropped it to her player. You can't double big to big from block to block in this league with no backside help. So that's her wanting to make a play, but we just don't do that. That's not Atlanta Dream-based defense. So, you know, but I understand what she was trying to do. Like, I understand she thought, I'm going to go help. I'm going to go make a play here. So some of it's just players wanting to make plays. I mean, Renee probably got up and pressured Canada a little too hard tonight, and wanting to drive pace and, you know, create some energy by picking up. You know, when Canada can get downhill, that's when she's at her best. So, you know, sometimes playing her softer is the smarter thing.
Coach, what was the difference between turnovers in the first half of this game and the first game? That was a staple of last game, able to overcome last game. But this game is when you got behind the eight ball with the missed shots and turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, 14 isn't awful. I thought some of them were just players trying to make plays. You know, we forced the ball when we just needed to make the simple pass to the wing. You know, one of the things that they did early is they trapped our ball screens, or trapped our step-ups. We knew they were going to trap our step-ups, but they trapped our ball screens. And they basically didn't even rotate to our post. So they basically wanted the ball out of our guards' hands, into our post hands, and they wanted our post making decisions. And that bothered us. You know, our posts didn't always make great decisions. We got some open shots, but there were times that our post probably could have dribbled into the front of the rim without being guarded off of when the ball came out of the trap, because they just weren't rotating. It wasn't a trap and a rotation most of the time. So, you know, that was some of it. You know, their traps bothered us early. Some of it was just, I mean, silly mistakes. I mean, Tiffany airmailed a long pass to Elizabeth. I'm yelling drag screen, and she wants Elizabeth in transition. So, you know, you kind of poke at any of them. Like, you know, even Billings late, you know, wanted to like dribble hand off and keep it, and drove and dribbled off her leg out of bounds. I mean, it was a little bit of everything tonight. It wasn't pretty. Don't get me wrong.
How do you flip this? Could you play right back in?
It's probably the best thing. I sure wouldn't want to stew on this for 6 or 7 days. Like, you know, it was easier to be, you know, to not necessarily play well, but play really hard and find a way to grind out the last win, you know, and then go into this week. But I think in this situation, you're not a competitor if you don't want to, you know, put your uniform back on and play right away, because I don't think anyone was happy individually or collectively with our performance tonight. So we're obviously going to get a very rested Washington team. We're going to get Deladon, we're going to get Tolliver, we're going to get the full package. No one's being held out of this game besides Power. So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as a coach, I'm a competitor. As players, I think they're competitors. So, you know, I don't think anyone played so many minutes for us that Sykes played by far the most. So, you know, we can turn this around. They're young enough. They have fresh enough legs. We'll get them in Norman Tex and ice baths and find a way to compete.
What were your thoughts on Nia Coffey? She came in at the end and played pretty well from live.
Nia plays with great energy. You know, she's a player that can play 3 or 4, and we played her some of both tonight. You know, she's active on the glass. She's strong and does a good job around the rim. You know, and I think she reminds me a little bit, you guys that follow the Hawks. She's got some John Collins in her. She's bouncy. I think when, you know, I watched so many Hawks games this year, but you saw this transition in John Collins when he started knocking down threes, and just how impossible it was to guard him then once he started knocking down threes. I think Nia Coffey has a chance to be really, really special when she can consistently knock down the 3. I mean, I think right now she's going to make 1 out of 4 from the arc. We need her to make 1 out of 3. You know, but I think she's a special talent. If she stays hungry and wants it, she's got a super bright future.
Coming into this game, I thought Seattle might want to slow the game down. Were you surprised how up-tempo they came out?
No, because Seattle's not a half-court team. I mean, without Stewie, you know, without Bird, I think they're young, at least with Canada and Russell. I mean, Lloyd's still young. they need to play fast. I mean, look at Howard, she's a gazelle, she never looks tired to me, so, no. I mean, I think that's how they play. I mean, and they have to turn around and play a back-to-back tomorrow in Chicago, so, I think this is how Seattle plays, I mean, if you looked at number one on the board today, it was defensive transition. We knew that our number one key to victory today was defensive transition, so definitely not surprised by them pushing tempo.
What were your thoughts on Haley Lightning's?
I thought Haley played hard. I don't think she necessarily played great, but I really wanted to roll her out there and see how she did. I think she's a player that can stretch the floor. We feel like we can 3-4 switch a little bit with her. Maybe not 3-5 after watching tonight with a player like Russell. That was she kind of beasted her when we switched 3-5. I think she's pretty good in the mid-range game. And so she missed an open three. She missed her open mid-range shot. But I think those are shots she can make. Maite. I thought Maite has to learn to be vocal. I mean, I think she's a player that understands the game. I think her basketball IQ is really, really high. But I think she's someone that's played on a team with a dominant voice in UNESCO. And, now she's a rookie in the WNBA. And so asking her to command her team is a process, I think. I think, as you saw, she knocked down the open shot. She had a good drive, but she missed the floater going to the rim. I think the kid can play, and she's really instinctual. She dug out a ball that was fed into the post. I think she understands our defense and defense in general. So I think she has a chance to be good, but I think it's hard to be the youngest player on the team and then try to command a group of people that are all older than you. But they'll listen to her because she actually knows what she's talking about. She's got a really, really high basketball IQ.
Last question.
With 8 blocks and 31 defensive rebounds, how important is your defense to the identity of this team, and where do you still want to see it grow?
Well, it's interesting. I think our identity is defense because we have good athletes, good defensive players. I inherited good defensive players that needed a system, and then we've certainly added players through free agency in the draft that I think can continue to make us good that way. We want to be good offensively too, though. I promise you that. But I think until our offense catches up once again, I mean, even though it's the second year they've played together, they were apart for longer than they were together. And they all go play on these foreign teams, or the ones that don't, and stay. They're not playing. And so I think it just takes time to get a rhythm. If you look at Connecticut, who most people think is the best offensive team in the league, you're talking about a team now that same core group of players has played together going on 4 years now. And it shows. The playbook's bigger when they start now. And they do such a good job moving the basketball. So, our defensive philosophy is to keep one of us on one of them. I thought we missed late switches, and, things that we usually do a better job of. There were way too many times where we got rejected on the baseline. We don't allow rejections, it's just regrouping from this. I don't think any of them don't understand what we do and why we do it and why it works. And so it's just some nights in this league you don't play well, and I think that's why you can't put too much emphasis on one win or one loss, one way or the other. It's, for me as a coach, it's how do we respond to this? Are we going to sulk? Are we going to, get back up and compete, when the game tips at Washington tomorrow? Are we going to have a good attitude when we go into the film room and say, here's how we beat Washington? I think I don't think anyone thinks that we aren't going to be a good defensive team. I just think we didn't play well today.